Fox 61, Connecticut's news station, starts with a weather impact alert.
Well, some parts of the state could see a wintry mix in the morning. The rest of us will be seeing some rain.
And we begin tonight with a Weather Watch alert. Thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 10. I'm Brent Hardman.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. Tomorrow's expected to be a messy one outside.
Yeah, we're talking about the possibility of a wintry mix for a few parts of the state in the early part of the day.
And let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank, who's tracking everything tonight. Rachel, when can we expect everything to start?
Just in the pre-dawn hours, it's going to be super duper light. And then by mid to late morning, we'll really see things pick up. But there's just enough cool air as the system gets close enough to us that we could begin with a brief wintry mix or some snowflakes. Now, we have issued this alert for northern Litchfield County, where there is a winter weather advisory in effect starting at 2 a.m. and continuing until 10 a.m. You may want to use extra caution just in case there's a few slippery spots and maybe a little bit of extra drive time. But again, for 99.9% of us, we are talking about just wet roads for the drive. Right now, temperatures are in the 30s, but we are inching closer to the freezing point, even below freezing in Torrington right now, where there is a winter weather advisory in effect. So just in the pre-dawn hours, we see some light rain and snow develop. And again, there could be snow in other areas away from the Connecticut shoreline, but it's going to be pretty hit or miss and I think tough to accumulate. Still, check in with the Fox 61 morning show crew just in case. 7 a.m. It's still pretty light out there, but notice after that, we see things really fill in. We'll see rain come down heavily at times as we head through the course of the day on Monday, and this will all wind down as we head into Monday night. So I think the evening commute is looking much better. So a chilly start, brief mix changing to rain, and it's just a rainy Monday. Monday really looking and feeling like a Monday to start off the week. We'll talk about where we go from here coming up.
All right. A lot of you probably already know this, but there will be no third straight national championship for the UConn men's basketball team. The Huskies' road to the championship has ended.
The Huskies were knocked out in round 32 this afternoon by the top seed in their region, the Florida Gators. Fox 61 sports director Jonah Karp is here with more from today's game. Jonah, the end of that game was painful to watch.
Oh, yeah. And endings are always sad, right?
Yeah.
Look, it was a tough loss because UConn was in it until the very end, not because the Huskies were expected to win. But they were in good position to. It was a tie game at halftime, and UConn had a second-half lead against the top-seeded Florida Gators. But UConn went 4 minutes without a field goal in that second half, and well, Florida used that opportunity to put the game to bed. But it was a hard-fought game, and Dan Hurley was understandably emotional after it ended.
You know, I thought we played with tremendous honor. I thought we played with the heart of a championship program and a program that's gone back to back. And for a team to to end, what we really wanted to do, they were going to have to put us down. And obviously a worthy opponent like that, there's honor in the way we went out.
Well, with that, a 13-game winning streak for UConn in the NCAA tournament is snapped, and the Husky season's over. I'll have more from this game, as well as other UConn stories coming up later in the show. Guys?
All right, Jonah, thank you. From one Huskies team to another, the UConn men's ice hockey team is headed to the NCAA tournament for the first time in school history. The Huskies were selected among the field of 16 to compete for the Division I men's hockey championship. They will play in the Allentown region with Quinnipiac, Penn State, and UMaine. More on their bid for the title also coming up in sports. The lawmakers and education leaders from across the state are prepared to push back against President Donald Trump after he signed that executive order last week aimed at further dismantling the Department of Education.
The president says he wants to put the power back in the hands of individual states. Fox 61's Stephen Reel spoke with lawmakers before tomorrow's press conference. He's breaking down what comes next.
While President Donald Trump does not have the ability to get rid of the Department of Education himself, the executive order he did sign essentially puts all the dominoes in place to do so. And while Republicans say this will help bring education back to the states themselves, Democrats across the aisle worry that this will just put education at risk.
It is a disaster in the making.
Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal is among those pushing back against the Trump administration. This after the president's executive order aimed at dismantling the Department of Education.
We're not doing well with the with the world of education in this country.
The order directed Education Secretary and Connecticut native Linda McMahon to take every necessary step to facilitate the closure of the department and return authority to the states. But Senator Blumenthal says the only thing this will do is drive up costs on Americans,
which will cause increases in local taxes, property taxes, to replace the federal funding. And the savings at the federal level will go to finance their tax cuts for the billionaires. That's the agenda here.
Leaders like Kate Diaz with the Connecticut Education Association say they now turn to state leaders to keep the DOE open.
Individuals like Attorney General Tong to fight for us, to go into the spaces and make some noise, because quite frankly, we cannot allow ourselves to devalue public education in this way.
In response to the executive order, Secretary McMahon explained how leaders have been discussing folding the Department of Education into other areas of government.
I mean, the Department of Justice already has a civil rights office, and I think that there is an opportunity to discuss with Attorney General Bondi about locating some of our civil rights work there. He wants to improve education for children. He wants to get those dollars, even more dollars, back to the states without the bureaucracy of Washington. So that's our plan. That's our goal.
What is your response to that?
The idea they're returning education to the states is a total falsehood because the states already control it through boards and local organizations. What they're really trying to do, essentially, is dismantle the Department of Education, but more fundamentally, destroy the funding programs.
Senator Blumenthal tells me that more actions from the state will be announced in the morning. However, he did not go into details about what those actions would be. The Monday press conference will start right here at the Legislative Office Building, starting at 10:15 a.m. In Hartford, Stephen Reels, Fox 61.
Yeah, from the DOE to tariffs. Now, trade is a major policy issue for the Trump administration. There's been a lot of talk about tariffs lately, but it still might be confusing for some. Who pays for the newly implemented tariffs? One expert weighs in on what tariffs are and who will likely feel the brunt. Christina Coleman reports.
New tariffs from President Donald Trump are reshaping the U.S. trade policy. It's sparking a trade war with China, Canada, Mexico, and European nations.
Tariff is an import tax, a tax on consumption, because imports make up a pretty large share of U.S. goods.
While tariffs can hurt foreign countries by making their products harder to sell in the U.S., experts say American consumers and businesses could be hit the hardest. President Trump is expected to reveal reciprocal tariffs on additional U.S. trading partners on April 2nd.
When the product lands in the United States in a port, it sits in a warehouse until somebody pays the government $40. And the entity that has to pay that $40 is the importer, or, if that's Walmart or somebody else. And then they have to decide whether they're going to mark that $40 up, and almost always they do.
Some business owners fear prices of everyday items, from beer to maple syrup, could skyrocket if high tariffs continue.
That 25% increase on the tariff will simply just get passed along to us and get basically built upon, and probably end up being much larger than that as an ultimate cost to our beer.
While some brace themselves for the worst, others, like this wine grape grower in California, say they're hopeful the tariffs will have a positive impact on their industry.
What he's trying to do, in my opinion, is equal that playing field by really charging the same tariffs that we're charged when our wine goes into those other countries.
The Trump administration says tariffs will help pay off the nation's large debt, create American factory jobs, and lower food prices. In Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox 61.
And new tonight, another horrific case of animal cruelty out of East Hartford. The animal control office there says it is investigating after a dog was found dead, dumped in a garbage bag in the woods this morning. The dog is believed to be a young pit bull. The animal control office reported the dog was found with a gunshot wound in its side. It was found in the area of Forbes and Cottage Street. If you saw anything or know anything, call East Hartford Police or Animal Control.
Firefighters in Newtown had a busy Saturday putting out a pair of fires. The calls came in that there was an explosion. Well, firefighters responded to this fire just after 12:30 in the afternoon in the village of Botsford. That's where there were concerns that it this fire could start a brush fire because of windy conditions. Thankfully, the fire was knocked down before anything could spread.
One person is in the hospital after a crash on I-84 this morning in Vernon. It happened on the westbound side of the highway near exit 66. First responders found one car with bad damage and another car overturned down an embankment on its side. Everyone inside both vehicles was able to get out on their own. One person was taken to the hospital with injuries, and the cause of the crash is still being investigated tonight. A fire broke out at this home on Parsonage Street in Rocky Hill this morning. Fire crews were alerted to a house fire just after 1:30, and when they got to the scene, they found smoke coming from the back of the home. Everyone living inside made it out safely. Firefighters eventually found an electric stove on fire, which then caused the wood cabinets to go up in flames. Crews also got a carbon monoxide reading on the second floor. The cause of the fire is still being determined.
Pope Francis is returned to the Vatican. He spent 5 weeks at Rome's Gemelli Hospital and underwent treatment for a severe case of double pneumonia. Today, people gathered in Rome to witness his first public appearance since he's been back. Stephanie Bennett has more from London on what his recovery will look like.
Hundreds of people cheer as Pope Francis is seen for the first time in public since his 5-week battle with double pneumonia. The frail Pope greeting supporters from outside his hospital room.
Thanks to all of you. And I see this lady with the yellow flowers. Good.
Doctors say the 88-year-old will now begin a 2-month recovery and rest period. It's a relief for those who thought his illness could have been deadly.
We came the first time, when the news had first come out, people thought it was the end, but it has really brought joy to my heart to see the Pope go through all this.
The Pope's return to the Vatican does not mean he will immediately go back to work full time. Doctors have advised Francis to avoid large and stressful meetings, and it's not clear what his day-to-day schedule will look like.
I felt sad because he didn't look well. Then he wanted to talk to us, but only a few words. He couldn't talk, and I realized it was because of his breathing.
While the Pope was breathing on his own during his balcony appearance, on his departure from the hospital, he was seen wearing nasal tubes for supplemental oxygen, something he needed throughout his treatment.
He looked okay, considering. It was good to see him, so happy to actually see him get out of hospital and back to his residence.
That was Stephanie Bennett reporting from London. Pope Francis will still need 24-hour medical care. His physician says he'll need less assistance as his breathing recovers.